Today, I have a special guest for you guys. His name is Randy. He's an ex-landlord of mine where I rented a property from him specifically for Airbnb. Today, you are going to hear it directly and straight from the landlord side. So the backstory is this. I rented one property from Randy, undisclosed location. We're going to beat the city every single time. I think he had a lot of hesitation because he didn't want the property to be destroyed. He just bought the property, spent a bunch of money into fixing it, and it was beautiful. From a landlord perspective at that time, what were you most afraid of?
I think the biggest thing is just like parties. Okay, we just spent all this money to renovate the place and make it nice. Worry about your asset and what's going to happen to it if you rent it to the wrong person, just like any other tenant.
Yep.
Or like call the cops because there's parties on the weekends or drugs or whatever, right?
So after 2 years, what was your experience like being the landlord of an Airbnb property?
I think we probably contacted maybe just a couple times.
Oh, they contacted you?
No, I just
contacted
you.
Oh yeah.
over the 2 years, just like a few times. Mm-hmm. It was the best lease I ever had. He took care of all of the little stuff, anything that needed to be repaired. I think your assistant, Katrina, was
on it.
She was on the money.
What made you decide that, hey, you know what, maybe this is going to be okay?
After looking at your financials, I knew that this is something you'd done before. Meeting you was a big part of it. You really assured me that I'm going to take care of your property. It's not going to be damaged. And in fact, it was after, I think 6 months. After 6 months, I felt comfortable enough to actually introduce him to my friends. Who
That's
actually ended up
doing the same
thing with him, and they had a great experience too.
There's been a lot of complaints, for Airbnb for this specific house. So if you walk around, you'll notice that there are signs set up that says, no loud noise after 10, because the neighbors are pretty sensitive. This is like a cul-de-sac. And the police have shown up, they find people.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they're just having a really hard time running this place.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So the challenge here is for me to turn this thing back around.
So as a midterm rental, how would you market this for a 30-day rental? So it would be like someone visiting or in between houses?
I no longer try to figure out why people come to these places. I just do it solely based off of analytics. A lot of times when people start Airbnbs, they think, okay, people are coming to LA because they want to visit Hollywood, they want to go here, they want to go to Beverly Hills. That's all instinctual on what that person wants to do, who's making the assumption. I figured out that none of that matters, because if you go out to the Midwest, where if you know nothing about it, you feel like no one will go there. But these markets are actually really, really healthy Airbnb markets, right? So it's just things that you don't know that are attractive there. So instead of interpreting why someone goes somewhere, I just look at the data. If the data supports that there is demand, then that's where we put our money.
How do you find your Airbnb rentals?
So with Airbnb, people don't know this, but what makes a difference is exposure and pricing. It's not so much the property itself. That's why I can take a property, in a neighborhood. We call those C-class neighborhood, rent it out on short term and beat out A-class neighborhoods for the same price in a C-class neighborhood. So let's say if you go to B-class neighborhood, which will cost $3,800 a month rent, roughly the same bed bath layout, a mile away, that is $3,800 versus $3,000. So you can get the same price on Airbnb, but the rent that you pay every month is so much higher. It's more beneficial if you understand how to gain the exposure to go into a C-class neighborhood.
So what do you think is the sweet spot for your short-term rental? Like a 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom?
Yeah, so
these kind of massive mansions like this. What's the sweet spot?
People ask me that all the time, and the real sweet spot is, what does the public want? What is the average group booking size in the area? I'll give you an example. You go to Sedona, Arizona, the average booking group is 6. If you put this mansion there, a 7-bedroom mansion, and you put this there, you host 20 plus people, but the average group is 6. This is not what they're looking for. This type of traveler is not going there, so it doesn't make sense. The reverse of that is true. If you go to an area where, the average group is 20, and you put a 1-bedroom there, it doesn't make sense. So the sweet spot really depends on what the average group is, what your customer is looking for.
interested in doing Airbnb yourself now?
Yeah, I think before I think it was like a self-limiting belief that it could be a second job. Before, when he was renting it, I honestly didn't see how he was gonna make money. I didn't see the market for it in Santa Ana for what you were doing. Plus, I have.
So what I've realized after doing Airbnb for 4.5 years is that there's really two types of landlords. One that are just the passive guys, right? They buy a piece of real estate. They want a reliable tenant. They want a tenant to move in, keep the place clean, never call them and receive a check, right? So that's great if you're an arbitrage guy because you can settle their concerns by saying, hey, listen, I'll take care of all the minor maintenance on this property and I'll never contact you. That is like checking off a huge box on their list, and it's a wish come true for them. Now, there's other landlords on the other side who wants to maximize their investment. Someone like Randy. Over the 4.5 years now, I can assure you, if you're watching this video and you're new, that the landlord that wants passive income is the majority, and the landlord that wants to put in more work is the minority. So do not let the idea of a landlord stepping in and doing it themselves discourage you from doing Airbnb, because Airbnb is very possible. Properties are always available, and I can attest that if you just put in the legwork and you put in the grit and you get it done, within the first weekend of pitching several people, you'll get your first property.
The beautiful part is being able to rent a lot of these. That's how you scale really, really fast. You know, because to buy a property, you need a lot of money. You need to qualify for loans. You need to go through inspection periods, fix the properties. Whereas if you rent, the landlord has done all that for you, all the heavy lifting. And then because you have the business structure and the know-how and the blueprint, you can come in and rent the home, you know, for first month's rent, security deposit, a few $1,000s, furnish it, and you're off making money.